Hello, a very good morning to you and welcome to Table Talk on Benue Television. Today's edition of the program is we'll be looking at local government elections in Nigeria, and we shall also be making references to Benue State where we belong, as the elections are around the corner and the conditions and everything around it. There are some persons who have said the amount placed for the forms, the purchase of forms to contest for the election is too high. That's up to 5 million naira for chairmanship. And going by the hard economic, state that we have found ourselves in, to some persons it may be an unpalatable development, while some have hailed the motion and the whole thing, saying that it is actually going to check the system and make it go right. There are other states that are conducting local government elections. Some other states are also making preparations to have their elections. Now, there are issues we intend to take a look at. Local government autonomy has been granted by the Supreme Court of Nigeria. We still have states conducting elections and not INEC. Until such plans are made and put in place, whether there is going to be an electoral umpire strictly meant for the local government elections in the state, or it is going to be INEC that will be running elections across the 774 local governments in Nigeria, is what we do not know. But for now, we have available sources indicating that the elections will be conducted by the various state electoral bodies. In Benue State, it is BSEC. These and more will form part of our discussion here on Benue Television's Table Talk this morning. My name is Japhet Kwahom, and I have the honor and pleasure to welcome Paul Uga, who is the former chairman, Anna, and of course is a public affairs analyst and a journalist. I'd like to welcome you to the studios of Benue.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me once again.
Yeah, it's good having you. And a lot of things are not normal in Nigeria. Just today, I had seen you on camera where you were trying to cover a protest that is ongoing in the state by medical doctors. Whatever they are protesting for is what we do not know. But that's not the topic we are here to discuss, because the helmsman of that union of medical doctors in the state will be available on Benue TV later to talk about that. Let's dwell on the local government elections.
Okay.
First, how did the issue of autonomy, how did that come to you as a citizen? Did you see that as a welcome development, and do you also see this as one thing that will change the face of democracy at the grassroots?
Yes, as a citizens of Nigeria, that news of autonomous for local government I think came as a good thing for us all, because for development to happen at the grassroots, they need to have autonomy, because even in the past, when local government were in charge of their domains, their local government, things were happening, and it came to a time that they could not do anything. Even constructing a main cover, they could no longer do. I think this is a welcome development. I received it with joy when the announcement was made.
It's all right. Now, let's delve into the main issue. In Benue State, local government elections will be conducted very soon. And that's going to be in just no distant time from here. Preparations are underway. And from what we have gotten, the revelations are indicating that the form will cost up to 5 million naira. That's for the chairmanship. Don't you think this is capable of putting off some persons from the contest?
Well, for form to contest for local government chairman to go for 5 million, I think it will definitely affect the system, in my own opinion, because it will come to a situation whereby the money-backed politicians will sponsor some certain individual, because they may not have that money to purchase the phone. And once they said one who paid the one
who pays the piper,
dictate the tune.
Yeah.
And when they are not able to pay and somebody sponsored him, they become a kind of conduit pipe whereby the resources at the grassroots again will be siphoned. I think government need to look into it to make it affordable, whereby those that have good characters, if you want to look at the society today, those that are honest, they are not making it in such way. Some are making it, yes, but if you put the percentage of those that are honest, they might not even have that kind of money in their account, except those that have accumulated money through other dubious means. And at the end of the day, the same people that will come and occupy the places, and at the end, the result will not be achieved. So I think I'm not very comfortable with that figure, if that is the reality.
It's all right. Now, let's also take a look at the general outlook of local government elections in the past. Before now, some persons were in between, accepting whether it was elections or selection. I do not know if now that the autonomy, do you perceive that now that the autonomy has come to be in place, are we going to continue to have selection of chairman across local government, or we're going to have elections?
Well, now that autonomy has been given, I think a number of things is going to happen. It's not going to be as business as usual, the way I'm looking at it. In the past, I think there was a time that local government election was in progress, and I was to monitor it within the state.
Yes.
And I moved around, I couldn't see anywhere where people were voting or anything. I asked the person in charge that I've been everywhere, I couldn't see. He himself, he laughed. And that was the end of it all. So I think this time around, things is going to change.
Now, apart from the issue of whether people will be selected or people will be elected, let's talk about the issue of credible people coming on board, credibility of the aspirants as against favoritism. Some candidates are sometimes favored. Some struggle to get to the top. Do you see the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration as clearing the coast for the common person to clinch such positions in their elections?
Yes, the process of this autonomous to the local government is one of the stage which he has set for. By the time that come into play and other factors taken care of, like maybe the people that should conduct the elections, because the federal government is also looking at setting a body different from INEC or different from BSEC or the individual states conducting the election. They are trying to create a body at the national level which will now conduct the local government elections. When that is put in place, I think it will create more rooms for people to have a better chance of vying for the positions, and people to come in naturally without somebody sponsoring or somebody imposing them on the people.
Now the question would be, I like the way you have been able to put it. The truth of the matter here is, if elections are to be conducted, why would the government want to set up another body when we already have INEC? When we are told that INEC has the exclusive reserve to conduct elections in Nigeria. That is what the documents are saying. So why are we looking towards having another body as against INEC? Does it mean we do not have confidence in INEC?
No. It's not that. INEC is saddled with a lot of responsibilities, and if this is added to their existing responsibility, they might be overwhelmed. And when somebody is overwhelmed with work or responsibilities, the end result will not be achieved. So maybe that is why the federal government is thinking of creating another body who will now solely responsible for the conduct of.
So will the body be supervised by INEC, regulated by INEC, or what? Because if that is not regulated by INEC, it's meaning that there are two bodies in Nigeria responsible for the conduct of elections, and so it will strip INEC of the autonomous powers it's supposed to have in terms of the conduct of elections. So, are you truly comfortable with that position?
Even before this, the states, individual states have been conducting the election, which is not directly under INEC.
Yes.
So,
and even at that, don't you think it's an aberration of the law? Because if we have INEC, why have we allowed the issue of conduct of elections to be in the hands of the subnational? If you are giving the subnational absolute right to say, I know that BSEC is a creation of the law. That's the Benue State House of Assembly.
yes.
But then, if government at the center truly wants to have credible elections, why allow the states, the various states, to have their independent, conduct of elections as against INEC?
Yes, we all have seen what has been happening. We are not strangers to the happenings in the country. So also the presidency. They have been seeing what is happening in the various states. When local government elections is being conducted, if you have APC governor in place, or you have PDP, or you have any other political party, you will discover that in the election, all the elections, the ruling party will just be the winner in all. That is what has been happening, and in trying to checkmate this, that is why the process of this autonomous is coming, and that is why the federal government again is trying to come up with another body that will conduct this election at the national level. Looking at it that the duty on the INEC is much, they are trying to create another body. By that time that is put in place, then the state will no longer have that total grip on the conduct of local government.
So when you say when you say that INEC has much on its hands and may be overwhelmed, have you forgotten that INEC conducts elections only once in a long while? What happens to recruiting more manpower? I can speak to you authoritatively that INEC is grossly understaffed, and no one is thinking about that. Now the question is, in the span of 4 years, you have only one season to conduct elections.
Okay, let me remind you, it's not just 4 years. If you see election in Nigeria because of legal tussles and all that,
yes,
elections in Nigeria have been staggered. Like Donald, they are preparing for
governorship elections.
That is, there are some states that are now aligned with that 4 years tenure, and then not just only election that INEC do. There are a lot of other issues that come up that they have to go to court, they have to do this and that. By the time they engage them more in this, they will discover that the work will be more on their hand, because it's not just 4 years election they conduct and go to sleep. There are a lot of other things. When the some certain period, people that have reached 18, they have to re-register them. There are a lot of other issues that INEC does apart from just conducting elections.
So in essence, you're saying that you are also in support of the move by the federal government to create another body that will be responsible for the conduct of elections at the state levels.
Yes, I'm in support
local
of
government levels.
Local government levels. Yes.
All right, then let's take a look at the past and the present. We are today where we are because of history.
Yes.
Are you sure it's possible to eliminate the issue of selection of local government leaders with the advent of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Do you think it's going to be feasible to have our next local government chairman credibly elected by the people and the masses, as against what you perpetually said it has been a selection process in the past?
Yes, if the present government is determined to do it, anything that it all depends on the willpower. If President Bola Tinubu decided to do it, even trying to create this, give this autonomous to the local government has not been an easy battle. That the thing went down to Supreme Court before the Supreme Court to rule on it. You are aware of it. So if it's determined that yes, this should be done, it's achievable, because by the time this national body is put on to control the elections, you will discover that in anyhow you do it, you cannot totally remove the hands of the sitting government from it, but it will reduce their impact in a situation whereby all the local government chairmen will be the winners will come from one political party or the ruling party. That will no longer happen.
Okay, do you perceive an atmosphere of competitiveness in this election? Because now, formerly it was just like a two-party thing. When you're talking about PDP, you talk about APC. But this time around, more political parties like the Labour Party have begun to wield some level of, influence as in some places, and to a point that the Labour Party has even people who are representing them there in the National Assembly. Do you perceive an atmosphere of competition, stiff competition, and sharing of the various local governments?
Not yet at this moment, because even though we say the local government has been granted autonomous, we'll discover that still the system will be conducted by the individual states. And
so are you saying you don't have confidence in the individual state because you are the one advocating that?
Because of what has been happening in the past, whereby sitting ruling government or the political party in a given state, when the election is conducted, you discover that all the winners will come from the ruling party. So now that the body has not been set up by the national at the national level to conduct all the local government elections, still is the state that is in charge, and then anything can happen. It depends on when the sitting governor want to be neutral or where he don't want to be neutral. Then you will discover that the previous thing that we want to run from, we are still in it until federal government set up the body who will not be in charge, and then the neutrality will be there.
So invariably you are saying that even the local government autonomy may not be effective until elections are conducted by a separate body.
That is the way I look at it for now.
But there are some governors that have made a significant difference. So what do you have to say about this Benue state? Because His Excellency here seemed to be acting not on the partisan level. I don't know whether you have any contrary opinion.
Well, we are watching to see until we see how this first one will be done. Then we can be able to predict, because in politics everybody have an interest, and then we are watching to see how it will turn out. It is then that I'll be able to give any assessment of the governor concerning whether if he will give free hand or not.
It's okay. Let's talk about violence. I do not know if you have seen or perceived a chaotic environment ahead of the elections. Do you see that there are body language indicating that there may be chaos, or people are becoming more apprehensive by the day, and something needs to be done? Is there anything of sort you have seen?
Yeah, looking at the situation and the happening, and a lot of people have been coming up to say that we are against a particular zoning of chairmanship to a particular region or this and that. That the governor have said that some certain, the chairman of a particular place that were there before that couldn't complete their tenure, they should zone it to that place. But the political stakeholders at the local government levels are not working in tandem to that, and then the politicians are complaining. So if that happens, there will be, if it is not resolved, these are issues that bring about violence, and unless it's given proper attention.
That's right. Now let's go back. Given the circumstance that local government chairmen here in the state were alias sacked, I hope you remember that very well.
Yes.
Now, as a journalist, you were following the activities. On assumption of office, His Excellency Reverend Father Hyacinth Malia had found the local government chairmen that were on seat wanting in some on certain issues that could be akin to financial misappropriation, and they are still in court. I hope you're aware of that.
Yes.
Now, the fear is that maybe at the end of the day, if elections are conducted, and maybe these people eventually get victory, the probability of having victory or losing are 50-50. What do you think becomes of the state?
This is not the first time it has happened. If you recall back, you will discover that even a sitting governor that has been given, that have been elected, given ordinance written by the INEC, at the end of the day, the other persons will go to court, and when the victory is given to him, the person has to vacate the seat. So we can't go against the law. Once the law is said this, we have to comply to it until when that happens. And when that happens, as a governor who is law abiding, he will not resist until when that happens. But right. I doubt whether if they will have that victory.
All right, and I think we're due for a break at this point, Mr. Paul Uga. We'll be back here to talk about this just after a very short while. Let's go on a break. It's the Table Talk on Benue Television, and we are still furthering our discussion on local government elections in Nigeria. Let's go on a break. Welcome back to the program. This is Table Talk on Benue Television, and we're still here talking about local government elections. And we are trying to see if in this country it is possible for us to begin to have elections that are free, fair, and credible. And so Paul Uga has been talking to us here concerning what needs to be done, what has been done in the past, and what we need to do moving forward. Let's also talk about the financial involvement in campaign activities. In Nigeria, we have campaigns running for some time, and the language of campaign is you have to spend money for the people to know that you are serious. In fact, to some persons, no matter what you say, if you have not given them money, you have not started talking. This is a state of economy where people are crying that there is poverty in the land, there is hunger in the land. The question is, do you think the people who do not have money may have the capacity to run their campaigns?
Yes, if you don't have enough money and you have good character, the party stakeholders need to do the necessary things. I know at times when the people spend a lot of money, when the person knows that he have to make up for his inefficiency in terms of character, in terms of antecedent and all that. If you bring a crook person who have a very bad antecedent, what they have to use at the end of the day is to share money, to influence people to change their concept, because he's giving out, and so that people will now come to his side. When you have a good character, a good person that have a good record, people will not so much demand from such a person. At the end, people will be even willing to support. We have that. We have witnessed that in the states. Even our current governor, when people were saying yes father, his election, I don't think he spent much in that election, because if you are to rate him with others that he contested with in terms of money, he wouldn't have emerged if it's to be based on money. But because of his antecedent people were willing to support him, and now we are seeing the dividends of it. So if the party stakeholders will be able to allow people with credible antecedents to emerge as the candidate of their various political party, then things will work well. But at times, in most cases, such elders will want to get money even from those vying for the position. And by the time they'll start getting, and those that will have such money are those that have acquired that money through dubious means. And by the time they give such money to them, then they will now impose them on the people. At the end, that is where this kind of unnecessary spendings will come up. But when you bring people, persons of impeccable character, persons that have good record in the past, the masses will be willing, so that that dividends of democracy will be there.
So that the dividends of democracy will be there. Now, there is infrastructural deficit at the local government since, let's say since the late 2000, the year 2002 to 3, local governments were abandoned to their fate in this country. Projects were not going. There is a lot of decay. There is a lot of infrastructural deficit and more. Do you think the autonomy given, and of course the next crop of local government, chairmen will have the capacity to transform such local government that are in deep infrastructural deficits?
It all depends on individual determinations. Those that are determined to serve well. If you are given take for instance, if you are given a bad room and you are to reside in that room, if you have a good mind, it will not take you time to tidy up the place so that things will start to work. But except those that are not willing to work, that are ready to maybe go there to siphon money, to accumulate money for their own individual this, because when this is done, we will discover that even the local government chairman too will be monitored, and at the end of the day, some of them that will be found guilty will also have issue with EFCC and all that. But those that will be working, that were willing to work, and there will be a shining example for others to follow. So I think it will, because before now they complained that because of joint allocations they were not giving enough fund to do this, but now the fund is going to be given to them directly, so they will have no excuse of not performing.
That's right. Now let's talk about the subject of thuggery in this whole matter. Now that the local government, administration has been given more power in terms of financial autonomy and more, that people want to get to those such offices by hooks or by a crook. Don't you perceive that there may be some high level of election malpractice and thuggery and sundry issues?
Nigeria people are getting enlightened concerning election now, because of what is happening, because of when there is pain, generally everybody is feeling it, and people are now start to getting that consciousness to at least do the needful, unlike before that people don't care whether election is going on in the rural areas, they'll go to their farm. These days it is not so, and because of that, and people are seeing where good things are happening when the right person is putting in a place. So I think people will be determined to do the right thing by voting whoever that is then discover that is a good person. The issue of thuggery, you cannot take it away from the political arena or scene, because despite all that, whoever that is good and the masses want to follow, the masses will still make their choice.
It's right. There is always this problem we face when we want to select leaders. People come up, reel out their manifestos and tell us they are very good people. We go by their records and we affirm that these people are truly good people. The moment we give them the seat of power, we cannot recognize whether they have become Sisyphus, like the Greek goddess that has a face both in front and at the back and sideways, and they seem not to even show that they have a conscience for the people that elected them. How do we now know that these are the people who are good? Because we have elected people we thought were good, but they didn't give us result. How can we learn from the past and make right choices in the next election?
Look, making right choices in the next election, or how can we determine who is good and who is not good? Because some certain persons has failed before. We cannot say because some certain individual that were good before has failed in the assignment given to them, then that means any other person that is good is bad. We can't draw that conclusions or that assumption. And then the issue of all this is, that was what I said earlier, that when this the price of purchasing this the form to vie for a for a particular position, take for instance that of a chairman, if it is raised so high, somebody that might be that have performed so well in his previous administration, because he's eyeing this and he doesn't have the means, and then you discover a godfather will come that, yes, I know you are good, I'm going to sponsor you, and by the time the person sponsor him by providing all the finance and all that, at the end of the day want to recoup the money, and then the person's hand will be chained and will not be able to do the needful. That is why we are saying that the form should not be given out at a very huge amount, because that is going to affect the system.
Thank you very much. Now that you have given me the leverage to ask the next question, we're talking about godfatherism here.
Yes.
This is what has been the problem in this state and other states as well. When people sponsor certain persons to go clinch certain positions, there is this sense of entitlement that they have. I made you this, I took you there, I brought you here. It applies to the local government seats. Don't you think the bourgeois class will hijack the process, want to sponsor people, and want to take over the structures? I want to give you a reference. The minister, the FCT minister, made claims publicly that he had sponsored virtually everyone that partook in the last elections in Rivers State, buying their forms, giving them financial freedom to go and contest and all of that. In this kind of situation, don't you think there will be trouble across such states in terms of independence in doing what those persons want to do?
And that is why I said earlier that if the government want to get it right, they have to get it right from the beginning, right from the amount that they attach for possession of forms for the local government chairman. If it is high, that is where the beginning of issues or crisis, because those that even have good character, I told you earlier that they may not have that money, they cannot even afford that money to, then somebody else will come and say, well, I know you have good antecedents, I'm going to fund the election processes and all that, and then at the end they look at it as an investment, invested their fund or their money in such a person, and at the end when that person emerge, then there must be an agreement. The person will not just come and want to sponsor you so that you go there and then he will stay away. You say, well, if I sponsor you, if you are there, you are going to give this, you are going to do this, you are going to do that. At the end of the day, you discover that the person will just go there and become a puppet to the godfather that have sponsored. That is why the state government, if this one is being conducted by the state government have to look into that issue by not raising the money for the possession of forms so high, because it will discourage the good people, and at the end the politicians will hijack it. The big ones that has money will hijack it, and then you will not have the kind of person that we want at the local government. Then instead of moving forward, we will start moving backward again.
Instead of moving forward, we start moving backward. Okay, I think we are due for another break, and we will be back to continue with the final segment of the program. It's the Table Talk on Benue Television, and we are talking about local government elections across Nigeria. What needs to be done for us to get it right this time around is what we're looking forward to discussing on the program. Let's go on a break. Welcome back to the program. This is Table Talk on Benue Television, and we're looking at the local government elections in Nigeria. We have in the house Paul Uga, is a public affairs analyst and a journalist who is doing justice to this very important topic. Now, before we went on the break, we had talked about various issues, but now what we would like to talk about is that we have failed in the past. We have made mistakes in the past concerning this issue of elections. Let's talk about the tenure of local government chairman. Don't you think this is rather too short for them to do any significant project? It's just a matter of 2 years, and the local government chairman, sometimes they don't even do up to complete 2 years, and they are asked to leave. What do you have to say about the tenure?
The tenure is too small. I think that has affected the system. In the past, when they were performing, when they were giving full tenure, I think we were witnessing tangible development at the grassroots. But when this policy of every governor in a given state, the ruling governor start determining the tenure of the local government, some say 1 year, some say 2 years, some say depending on when they want to replace them. It wasn't helping the system. So I think federal government too is working towards sanitizing that. I think the Supreme Court is suggesting that Abia has given a rule.